Okay, so we're going to be calibrating a 40 camera Optitrack system. The Optitrack is a proprietary software for, oh goodness, sorry, too many pieces of software. Okay. Are we recording me failing? Yes. Okay. Here is Optitrack Motive. All right, and we are, yes, we're recording this. Okay, so this is a software for running these cameras. It's already been calibrated recently. In fact, Kat Sullivan taught a class from here last night. But what we see through, if you want to look through your Zoom, you'll see that there's a video of the room, and then you can look at this camera if you want to see the screen, if you want to see us navigate here. Optitrack Motive doesn't really do that much, but it does what it does very, very well. It has 4 layouts. It has Calibrate, Create, Capture, and Edit. So today we're going to do the first 3, which is calibrating, creating, and capturing. All right, and so you always calibrate first. What's crazy is we used to have to calibrate twice a day. Like we usually did one in the morning and one in the lunch. But now through their software improvements, using the motion capture actually calibrates it. So it's actually kind of like a machine learning thing where I actually don't calibrate, but like you only calibrate when you like bump a camera or if you move a camera or add a camera or subtract a camera. So it's already calibrated, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. So the first step is to make sure that we have our cameras connected and that we're doing it at 240 frames per second at sub-millimeter accuracy, which is fantastic. And then the first step we're going to do is go over here to the left side and say mask visible. You can kind of see in here that there's these little red masks. These are the actual other cameras. You can kind of see the lights. And we want to do background subtraction. We want to say ignore those kind of things. Like if we had something shiny in the room, but it was always going to be there if it wasn't going to move, we want to mask it out. So I'm going to hit that a couple times, and it draws these masks over it. Right? So now we're ready to go. We're ready to do what's called starting wanding. And wanding is, it's like a magical process of passing a specific wand through the space and creating a point cloud. If you look at my little window right now, you'll see that this is the wand. It's stupid, ridiculously expensive, but it's essentially 3 markers that are always in a specific orientation to each other that the system knows, and you're going to make a point cloud in the room. Stella, you're in charge? Oh, sorry.
Wait, how come?
The boots go over your shoes. Yeah. All right, so Kevin is going through, and he's now calibrating the space. You might be able to see him on the little webcam, but also you can see him inside of, but we haven't started yet. So now that you have the wand, will you leave the space really quickly? Let me hit the start wanding button. So we're going to hide the wand. We're also going to check our room and make sure that we have no markers that are being seen. On the bottom right of my scene, it says 0 markers, so the room is clean. Well, there is the issue of that there is a person there, but it's an invisible person. We're gonna remove that person real quick. Blink. All right. So we're ready to start wanding, and I'm gonna say start wanding. Now, Kevin, you go through there and go ahead and start doing your wanding. So as he passes through the space, you'll see that he's starting to draw a point cloud, right? It's really beautiful data representation here of everywhere that he's walking within space. And each camera has its own window here and its own perspective. And remember, these are IR emitters. They're infrared, shooting out infrared. As long as 3 cameras see a point, then it's considered tracked in space. And there's 3 points here that we want to try to capture at all times. And he's walking around the room in a kind of a circular format. So there's 2 there's two competing methodologies of calibration. One is called the lawnmower, and it's more like how you'd mow a lawn, right? You just go up and down and up and down and try to pass through every part of the space. What Kevin is doing is he's doing kind of a meandering. No, he's kind of doing the reverse of what my favorite is, which is the yellow brick road. If you think back to Wizard of Oz, Kevin, you can stand in the very center of the space and then spiral out. So as you're calibrating, no, but like slowly walk in a wider and wider spiral as you're moving the wand in a figure eight, right? So he's going to create a spiral as he walks around. That's actually the most efficient way of calibrating a mocap space. He's moving the wand in a figure eight pattern, so he's going left and right. He's getting high and low, and he's just making a point cloud in the space. And feel free to kick any of the chairs out of your way if they're getting in your way. So as he's getting space, I can see on the left side of my screen, if you look at my desk recording, that there's different samples. A general rule is that we want to get 10,000 samples per camera to consider it a good calibration. Calibrations can be any of 5 categories. They can be poor, fair, good, excellent, exceptional. We really don't want anything except for exceptional because it's a waste of our time. We'd rather spend 5 minutes calibrating again than have bad data and spend 3 extra days cleaning up horrible data. So if I look at these numbers, I'll try to identify potentially the lowest number and call it out to Kevin. So my camera 24 is under 5,000. I'm going to find it right here, click on it. All of them click on it, and then in my viewport you can see that it's yellow. And then if Kevin can look above the projector screen, he'll see that that one is yellow over there. So we say 24 needs a little bit of love. So remember, it's a Z depth camera. So start close to it, wand in front of it, and then walk backwards from. You see the one that's yellow, Kevin? Above the projector screen, on the left side of the projector screen. See, that's yellow. That's because it's being selected. Yeah. So start close to it and then walk backwards to try to get all the different viewpoints. Right, and just by doing that, he's already doubled it in no time. So I'm going to draw his attention towards number 13. So number 13, we'll find that one. It's over here in the corner behind you. Just turn around, and yep, there it is. So walk up to it and start getting more samples, and then I don't know if you can see inside the room, I also have 2 TVs that he can also see what you guys are looking at on my screen. You always want to do mocap with 2 people. It's just impossible. It's absolutely impossible to do it with just one person. You need a team. All right. So we have 4. Let's look around the room and try to find 4. There, it's in that corner. And then also 5. And usually, especially when you're in like a small mocap room, the cameras that you need to give more attention to are the ones where people are standing, usually because the room is too small. Awesome. We'll go back to doing 1 and we'll be done. So let's give 1 some love. And we're good. So go ahead and hide the wand if you want to put it in one of the rooms or put it on the table. As long as we can't see it, it'll be good. That's perfect. And I'm going to hit calculate. All right. which we have. Okay. So, Victoria's ready, and cool. Look at this picture. This is literally everywhere that Kevin just walked. Talk about amazing data representation. It says exceptional, so I have a feeling that we're gonna be good. It's actually not done yet. It's still doing a little bit of calculation left. It'll give me a pop-up window when it's actually ready, and it's really important you let it finish, because this is kind of the moment where everyone gets antsy, like, oh look, it looks done, and it kind of is, but it's still doing some last-minute calculations. But we got exceptional already, so we'll be happy, and it's gonna spit out an error report, and we can at this point identify if there's other cameras that like aren't pointed the right way, and we need to like, or having issues with data because the Ethernet cables are broken. Like, we can use this report to set up our system to make it better. What's one thing everyone notices by looking at this scene though?
Sideways.
Looking at these these camera layout, what's very apparent?
It's tilted.
It's tilted. They know where they are in relationship to everywhere else. They know where they are in relation to each other, but they have no idea what's up. They don't know where the room is. They don't know where the floor is. So the next step we're going to do when it's ready for us is we're going to bring in a calibration plane. So it's basically a level, and we're just going to put it in the center of the room, and we're going to point it to where we want the performer to act. Now, the rule that I usually use is that I point the Z to me as the director, and I am looking at the screen. If I have the performer looking at the screen, then the performer is always going to be turning around and looking at the screen, and all the data is screwed. And you have to keep on animating their head. So all those visual references are for the client, for the artist, art director, for the mocap technician, for the director of mocap. They're not for the performer. The performer is actually looking at motive, because motive is where their data is, and that's what's important, not the big screen that's going to have the Unreal scene going on. But we now have the calibration report. It says exceptional. We're moving on. We're going to apply it, and let's get this ground plane going in. Okay, so they're walking in there and putting the calibration plane at the center. And as a group, there's an X at the center of the floor. There we go. These guys are troopers. You just put it in the ground, facing long end towards the projection screen. There we go. And then I'm going to say, set ground plane. It gave a thing. It says, let's see. It doesn't see markers. 1 second. Let's see. Go ahead and everyone leave the space really quickly. There might be some sort of interference with it. So it doesn't see any markers, but it does have those right there. So let's see what's going on. Set ground plane. Getting a little. Please ensure the system is calibrating the calibration squares in view. Versus select the three calibration square markers in 3D view manually before setting the ground plane. So it says find them. It says go fish. Because it doesn't see any markers right here. Always something new with live demos, right? Let's just ensnare empty space. Okay. Can just one of you guys go and grab it and wave it around? Just one. We're going to try to keep people out of the volume. Just wave it around inside the volume. We're going to try to get it in the view. See it track. Darndest thing. Okay. Let me take a look. So for our friends at home, we get to see me do the exception rather than the rules. So normally that would just work. I've never had this issue in a long, long time. What would happen if I said set ground plane? It would prompt me to save it, and that's a great thing that the software is saying to do. It says save. So since it's not letting me save, I do know that it was calibrated last night, and I'm going to go ahead and steal that calibration. So let me find recent takes. Let's just find out where they're saved to. Or let's just restart the software, that's also valid. It's opening, I promise. Motive! Hey, Motive. All right. Let's take a look at it real quick. Like any good engineer, we said, did you try turning it off and back on again? And it appears to have worked. Fantastic.
So did you just use the calibration
No, I just
data
restarted
from
the
last
software.
night, or just okay?
Yeah. So we should be good, but to prove that to ourselves, we are going to ask Stella, would you like to grab the ground plane and take it out of the space? And then Kevin, can you look into those bins behind the chair to your left? Kevin, if you look to your left behind the chair, if you grab one of the plastic pieces that has 3 markers on it. They're called rigid bodies. Yep. If you'll walk in space, and Estelle, if you'll come here with that. These guys are troopers. This is really hard to do with everyone in different spaces. Normally, I demo everything myself. You can put it on the table. It's fine. All right. So now we should be able to see this rigid body in space. I'm going to create a rigid body, and look, we're now tracking this marker in space. Right. So this could be right here a prop. This could be you can put on a ball, throw a ball back and forth. It could be a camera. It will be a camera eventually. It could be a lot of things. I'm going to move out of calibration mode. I'm going to go into create mode. And we just created a rigid body, right? It's 3 markers, and that yellow is a centroid. That's the data it's sending out, right? And we can do some really cool things. You can see all the cameras and how they see it, all right? We can do things like, we can add smoothing. So with a camera, we can do like a dolly shot. See how he's moving it so much faster and it's dragging behind it, right? So that's like a little built-in steady cam in case our data is too accurate, it's too crazy, right? We can offset it, right? So we can like make him on the ground, but he could be moving a cloud a mile up in the space. So we can offset that pivot point. There's lots of fun stuff we could do. We can give it a label, we can give it a color, right? So it's called rigid body, but it could be any prop we want it to be, right? So that's the easiest way of getting something started. Yeah, try it. Get rid of, so he's occluding, that's called occlusion. And that's some of the issue you have with the optical system is when you can't see all three, it's not considered tracked. But if you're actually doing a scene and you want the prop to disappear, you could just cover it up and walk out of the scene. So it's again, it's a convention that could be exploited. I'm going to go ahead and put our smoothing back down to 0, and then we're going to have Victoria come into the space. If you can take the rigid body and throw it back into the bin, our mocap performer come into and sit on or stand on 0, 0, 0. And then Stella and Kevin, I want you each to have your own tray of markers. So they have these, basically the suit that Victoria's wearing is just a Velcro suit. It's just felt. And what she's doing is they're going to put on a Velcro squeezy, squinchy, what's called retro-reflective markers. They're like little mirrors that reflect that and triangulate the scene. So you guys are going to reference these. In fact, it might be easier if you go stand in front of the TV. Stand in front of one of the TVs. Doesn't matter either. Whichever one Victoria chooses, you're going to stand with her. You guys are going to pair with Victoria. She's the one you're going to put markers on. She's the one you're going to put markers on. So you're going to be putting markers on Victoria. So come stand next to Victoria. There you go. And we're going to be creating a skeleton. All right, so we're not doing rigid body, we're doing skeleton tracking, and we're going to have very specific ways in which we're going to put these markers. Right? There's a lot of different camera configurations. We are going to do the minimum we could do, but we're going to give it a little bit of a bent toe because we don't want to have to animate toes later on. And the idea here is that we're identifying major joints in the body, right? The hip's the most major joint in the body, right? You sit down and that's your first hinge. And then you define where they are and which way they bend, right? So the hips, and then you put one here on the chest, and then that would say, oh, okay, it's deforming and in this direction. And the idea is that we're going to solve for a hypothetical skeleton that's inside of our performer. So if you guys would like to, we're going to be putting markers on Victoria, all right? So start with the front and put one on each of the hips, right? And start following this pattern. Cool? And then as they communicate to me, I can tell them, they can tell me to rotate things around. So let's look at the legs. There's only a few asymmetries in the entire schematic, and that's because you want to be able to define between left and right. So after you get the hips, and remember the hips are 4 around. Yeah. Cool. So might as well go ahead and get the legs. So if you notice that her left leg, you're going to put one a little bit higher on the thigh, on her left, and then on her right, you're put one a little bit lower, just above the knee. All right. 2 on the outside of the knees. So, right, you're going to define that knee joint. Cool. And then you're going to get the shins. And then this time, the left shin is lower than the right shin. And this is her left and her right. Her left is lower than her right. There's a little bit of tolerance in this, so it's not an exact science. It is, but it'll be forgiving. We can always revise it later on. Cool. And I've never thrown anyone in the blind just doing this. I've always done it first for them. So these guys are explorers in here. Then once we've gotten the legs, we want to get the ankle. So 1 on the outside of each ankle. And then you want to do the heel. So ankle and heel. Tip of the toe. And then this is another joint that we're kind of adding in, is this crease across from the small toe to the big toe, right? You want to be able to get one on the kind of the ball of the big toe and one below the little toe. And this is going to make that crease so the toe bends instead of having the toe just sliding through the ground. Cool. So they're working together as a team, putting on the markers. I'm here rotating around. We don't have good communication. They can't really talk to me. I need to install an intercom system here, but in general, they can gesticulate to me wildly and tell me if I need to show a certain body part for them for reference, and we're all working as a team. Give me a thumbs up when you guys think you got the feet, okay? We're now gonna go back up, put one on the center of the chest, and then we'll go to the back. There's a lot on the back. First of all, put two on the top of each shoulder, not directly on the edge of the shoulder, kind of further in, you know, where the muscle kind of ends. Two of those, and then one dead center in the back, on the top. Okay. Then two on one on either side of, just above the old armpit, you know, just where the torso meets the arm, and then two underneath the shoulder blades. Cool. I can see that you're doing a good job. You know, thoroughly spaced out. These things are really, really sticky, so when they had to grab them, they have to like really rip them off. All right. And then let's put one on either tricep, right here, the back of the arm. And then on the elbow, just like to the outside of the elbow joint. Either one. Cool. And then the hands, we're not doing really accurate finger tracking because of the occlusion issues. If you can't see the finger trackers, then the whole arm messes up. So we do what's called flipper hands or paddle hands. We're just going to get the wrist joint. So put one on either side of the wrist, and then one on the pinky on both sides. Either side of the wrist, defining that wrist joint, and then one on the outsides. Cool. And then from there, you're going to put three on top of the head, with one on her right side, one on the very crown, and then one on the very front of the forehead. And in fact, one of the things that's uncomfortable about the suit is that you have to put the hat kind of on the forehead. Nothing on the left side, just one on the right, on the top, and one on the top, tippity top. Cool. So now if we think we got it, if you guys can take those trays of markers and take them out of the room, we don't want to accidentally see those markers, so grab your trays of markers, and let's walk them out of the space. Just walk them to the corner of the room, get them out of there. We don't want to actually see, it's a little further just in case, behind the chair is fine. And if everything's done right, we should see 41 markers required and 40 markers are detected. So there might be one marker that's not there or one marker that's occluded a little bit. If you want, I can come and do a spot check, or do you guys want to check one more time as you go around? But you're super close. Super. I see 41. I see 39. All right. So the best way to do this now is for our two helpers to leave the volume and let Victoria have space. And Victoria, do you know how to do a T-pose? Have you ever seen a T-pose? It's feet shoulder width apart, and do a T-pose. Okay, I think you're ready. So our two helpers, you go ahead and leave the volume and let her have her space. Sit down in the comfy chairs over there. Grab your vodka cocktails that I made for you when you arrived. And, we're going to make Victoria into a real person. So like an airplane, get your arms directly out, horizontal. You want to make a flat board with your arms directly out, and I'm going to get rid of the prop, and I'm going to select those markers, and I can give her a name, and we'll call her Bill Crown Vic, and we'll say create, and you're now a real thing. Walk around. All right. So for those who can't hear, she's extremely jubilant and moving around. Okay. So in silence, you guys are going to see us dance. So what I want you to do is every mocap take, I want you to start in a T and end in a T. This is important for data cleaning. We're going to let her have some fun first. Okay. You got to do it for the Instagram first, but then we'll do it for the grade. All right. Cool. Okay, so we're going to do our first take. You ready? All right, so remember, everything is always going to start with a T and everything's going to end with a T. The way we're going to go is normally we have a director who says action and a mocap technician that says rolling. So rolling means getting a T, and then when action starts, that means we're hitting record, okay? So I have to do both this time. So, you ready? Okay, so we're going to say rolling. That means getting the T. Sorry, I'm in create mode. I'm going to move now to performance mode or capture layout, and then I now have this whole take name. It's time and date stamped, or I can give it a unique name, like I know she's going to be doing a butterfly, and then she'll be a butterfly. For those who just watched from home, Victoria, you can relax because Motive just crashed. Luckily, Motive also saved itself, so we might be okay. Cool. Going back to the create layout. No harm, no foul. Get rid of prop. Type in skeleton and Vic, and then we're gonna say create, and there we are. Hit save, and now we'll save there. Cool. So now we're going to capture. If you can come back and give me a T, we're gonna hit record. And then now do whatever you want to do. Flap around like a bird, dance, do a cartwheel, doesn't matter. And we have a take of you. And so now I'd say, okay, and we're ending the take, so I want you to come back to the center and give me a T. And then I say cut. And then let's go into review. We go to edit mode, or we can find out wherever we saved that one and double click on it. Today is the 8th, right? So this is this. So this is what just happened. We can hit play, we can scrub, we can also make her dance very slowly because we have 240 frames a second, right? So we have really great fidelity here. It's actually to keep the persistence of the trackers and follow the trackers around. But normally when we export, we only need 30 frames per second for a game engine. So we would export settings be much different. We can also go backwards, of course, and make it loop. I said backwards. There we go. Scrub any way you want to. Cool. So we have our first take, and it's always good to have data because your performers, especially if they're doing an entire day of performing, they get really tired, and you want to maybe have some takes while you're doing testing of other things going on. So we're going to go ahead and stop. Or we're going to let you guys relax and follow along, okay? So you go ahead and sit down. We have a take of you right now. We'll go live in a second. Cool? You can relax. We would take recorded, and you guys just follow along ahead because I think we'll start playing. And then we'll go live. Sure, of course. All right, we're going to do one more take as per request of the actor or performer. So give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. You good? Okay. So 1 second, we'll say rolling and get the T pose. So give me a T pose first. There you go. And action. All right. Okay, give me a T, and we're gonna end it. We can do more takes. I just want to do the rest of the workflow. Then we'll go live. All right. Okay. So now you guys can relax and you can watch the rest of the tutorial. So this is now our newer take right here, and we got all sorts of greatness right there. So I'm just gonna let play. Okay. And so one piece of software that I've been trying to avoid this semester is Motionbuilder because it's amazing, but that's not what I'm avoiding. I'm avoiding it because of Windows only. What we're going to do is whenever we use Motionbuilder, we'll be using it on this computer, and then we're going to stream data from Motionbuilder to our computers remotely. All right. So I am going to open up Motionbuilder, and the trick here is that we're going to do Motionbuilder 2018. The reason is that Optitrack, nope, not DreamHost Optitrack, just Optitrack. Optitrack has a Motionbuilder plugin, and I've even shown you this, like when they were recording Tintin and movies from a long time ago. Motionbuilder Avatar, they've always used Motionbuilder to previs live motion capture. There is a plugin for Unreal, but I think it's really janky, and we're not going to use it. But the most recent version that it works with is Motionbuilder 2018. So we're going to open up Motionbuilder 2018, and once we've already downloaded this plugin and installed it, and here's the layout of Motionbuilder. It's super funky, and I'm probably going to always be here and help you out with it. But for right now, because of time, I'm going to show you how to get connected with Optitrack. We have right here our kind of different things inside of our scene, and I want to look at my devices, and I want to look at the Optitrack skeleton, which is this icon here. I'm just going to throw it in the scene. All right. And now if we go back to Motive, I want to stream data out from here. All right. There's a bunch of ways to find it. You can go to your tools and whatnot. I'm just going to go right here to the streaming pane, and I'm going to send data to myself, which is called loop back. There are a few settings here. Really the most important one is that we're sending out data for skeletons and rigid bodies. We really don't need anything else. And just make sure that it's broadcasting and that it's sending out to itself. I could also at this point put it on our VPN and send it to all you guys, but then everyone would have to have Motionbuilder too. So I'm going to do Motionbuilder and stream it from Motionbuilder instead. Okay? So back to Motionbuilder, and I'm going to say I'm looking for it from myself to myself. Let's go online, and let's look at live data, and let's go ahead and create a skeleton. And this is the one setting you have to change. Actually, that's what Victoria looks like. Is she's changed her whole skeletal structure. It's unfortunate, but that's just who she's going to be. She's going to be an animated pile of that. She has no idea. She's too busy on Instagram. All right, we'll go back over to Motionbuilder or to Motive, and we're going to change one setting, which is I think the skeleton coordinates. We'll go back, and it's fixed. So now we have live data in Motionbuilder. All right. And we did the retargeting with Rococo in Blender before. We're going to do a quick retargeting process with with Motionbuilder, and then put it into Unreal as our demo for the day. All right, so I'm going to find something on this hard drive. Who knows what I'm going to find? This is why you don't leave your files in the downloads folder for me, because I will turn it into a dancing avatar. Let's go to my downloads. One thing I'm noticing right now is that Motionbuilder, when it's behind, it's not rendering, only when it's in the foreground. So I'm going to go to the system, and I'm going to change it to be always refreshing. Doesn't it sound good to be always refreshing? Right? It's like, all right, here's a fun one. I don't know if I can get in trouble for this one. I have a scan of the notorious B.I.G.'s son that I did mocap with him 2 weeks ago. Let's throw him in there. Let's see. That was... No, I didn't say double click. I said throw you in. Doodly-doodly-doo. I'll avoid getting sued. How about that? Let's find another 3D model. Willie won't care though. Willie's his buddy. I'm going to merge it in without animation. And this was scanned across the street at a place called Lens Cloud 3D, where they have some sort of crazy 300 camera array. And what's great about retargeting is it's an inverse kinematic process where scale doesn't really matter. The smaller skeleton is going to scale up to this bigger skeleton, right? So I just need to tell the software that the skeleton is a biped. So unfortunately, Motionbuilder has a really strange layout, and my scene, my like world outliner is over here, and I see I have Willie right here, and I have his hips right there. You can see that when I select his hips, it turn green, and I'm going to do what's called characterizing. It's tell it that it is a character. You are a character, and that character is it's locked. Okay, sure. Let's unlock it. You do that. And say characterize. Oh, I've already characterized Willie because I've already done mocap with Willie. Let's go ahead and delete Willie. Sorry, Willie. So we're gonna select everything, select branches, and say delete. Cool. Let's get the character we were doing the other day. Let's do this downloads. Let's get Mike Woods. This is Mike Woods from the show we did with Winslow the other day. It's not really just a mode of a mix mode character because we put a TV on its head and no one was the wiser. Mike Woods is right here. We have the hips right there. We're going to put the characterization on right there. It's a biped. And then let's go back over here and find the character. Again, I'll do this over and over again with you guys, so it's not going to be, this is quick, I understand. Character, driven by Vic character and make it active. And now we're a live avatar inside of Motionbuilder. Cool. And as you notice, the character's a little taller, and so therefore the character will travel further. It's it kind of scales out, and then also Willie is stuck dead on the floor. I've removed his skeleton and he's just lifeless there. So it's a little messy scene. That's okay. All right. So we have Mike Woods, which is actually Victorian disguise, doing data. See, aren't we glad that we recorded the take so she could have a break? Otherwise, she'd be super exhausted for doing this for the last 15 minutes. And now we're going to connect this with Unreal. So if I already had the character in Unreal, I would have had to export it and then put it in the scene. I'm going to add the character to Unreal and get it going. So we'll go back to our devices, and we're going to look for the Unreal Live link. I'll send you guys documentation for this, but it's already installed. Connect it, and I say, what do I want to do? Here's the interface for the Unreal. I don't want to stream the camera. It's going to be called Motionbuilder Live Link, and I want to send. Sorry, this little window came way over here. Come back over. Oh, that's just awkward. I will really quickly do. We're not going to do anything quickly, am I? I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to screen share my other screen, just so you can see this crazy tiny window that pops out. Right, so I was selecting this tiny little window that I want to get Mike Woods' hips. And then this is some fast teaching right here, folks. Once you add it in, say add. And now I'm streaming my hips and I turn it on. Alright? And then let's open up an Unreal scene. I'm not going to worry about doing it in our level, or I could do it in our project, that's fine. Let's go to our collaborative project. You know what? Let's not mess with that. Let's just be good citizens. And I have a throwaway project right here. And the important thing is to have the live link plugin turned on, and everything should work. Can it be done in 3 minutes? That's the question. Yes, it can. And at any moment, if we want to go back to the live data, we just go back to Optitrack Mode and turn it back to live. And we'll do that in just a moment. So I'm going to go to my assets, and I'm going to bring in Mr. Woods. Nope, that's not the one. Mr. Woods. Somebody's late to the party. All right. We got Mike Woods. We're going to import. It's a skeletal mesh. That's all fine. We don't have facial retargeting, but we can do morph targets and do frame 0, so it's a T-pose. Bring in Mr. Woods. And because the skeleton's the exact same, the proportions are exact same, we're going to be able to do a very quick live link to each other. I need to create an animation blueprint. The quickest way is to right-click on the skeleton and say create animation blueprint. This is the same process we did for face tracking, ABP Mikey. Open it up, or throw it in the world if I want to. Open it up. Get the old live link pose. Live link pose. So I don't have live link turned on yet. That's good. I mean, it's not good, but we're going to solve it. We're going to say plugins, live link, live link. Control rig, might as well. Why not? And that's for Vive Pucks. Sure, why not? And let's restart. This is a work of genius. And then it restarts. Next time I need to make sure I screen record my dominant screen, because by doing this one you guys don't see all the things loading and unloading. And in the meantime, to be even more fun, if Victoria, if you want to get ready to give us a little performance, you're about to spend a day in somebody else's shoes. You don't have to T-pose for right now. Give me one moment. I'm going to live link, pose, and then let's open up live link. It's in our Windows live link, and we should be able to see data coming from Motionbuilder, and we see that hips that we're streaming. Great. And what are we streaming? We're streaming hips. And what happens when we compile? Nothing just yet. It's terrifying. We should be doing things. Let's go into the world and hit preview simulate, and let's think about what could be possibly going wrong. We can save all. Save all. We can confirm first of all the Motionbuilder is animating. It is. We can be for okay. Right now it says it's not on. Now it says it's online. Now it's offline. See how it's yellow and blue, or see how yellow and green? That's no good. Turn off. Turn back on. Let's keep it at 60 hertz. Let's come back, and there we go. Always patience, right, guys? Always sense of humor, patience, and really fast viewport speeds. Always good to have really fast viewport speeds. Let's come back up. We're there. We're seeing it. We're having fun. Let's go back to Motive, and let's go live. And then there you go. And we can record in Motive, we can record in Motionbuilder, or we can record in Unreal. So we got triple threat here. You can record right here. We have a take going on. That's live, right? So perform an action, and now we have our own animation in Unreal Engine, right? And then we can line in the face. The reason it's kind of backwards right now is because we calibrated the room facing that way, but we did the T facing the opposite direction. But that's, you know, close is only counts on horseshoes and hand grenades. And what's great about this is that I can select and I can put her anywhere in my scene. I'm not even hitting the play button, I'm hitting the simulate button. So we can move our performer wherever we want to for our scene, so that we can create our scene everywhere we want to. Say, but we need a performer over here. Sorry, over here. Over here. Come back. Where the heck are you? You're in the middle of nowhere. Let's just zero you out. You're like 50 kilometers somewhere. There we go. So yeah, if the chair is somebody somewhere else, I'm like, let's just move the performer to the chair. All right, and then if we had another performer, we can move them all separately around anywhere we want to. Lift them up, do what we want to. What happens if we, I don't know, let's simulate physics. I'm now riffing. Boink. There we go. Now she's performing as a rag doll. And as she moves around, there's just gravity just having its way with her. Let's undo that. Oh, now we're sideways. I don't know what happened there. We'll just move her back anywhere we want to. It's truly, I'm a marionette, right? Moving you around, having fun, doing the thing, spawning, launching, simulating physics again, coming back to the world, simulating physics, falling down, coming back, falling down. Oh no, did you fall through? You fell through. There you go. And ejected into the outer realms of who knows where. You can still see a little yellow. Oh no! If we double click, it'll fast forward us. See? Like I'm trying to catch up, but we can't. Let's turn off physics. Come back. There we are. Frozen in space. Where you are officially 180,000 centimeters below the world. There you go. So that's pretty good. Back to 0. But it no longer is live updating. We'll just probably something broke at some point, and it was probably motive. Yes, Motionbuilder's fine. Motive crashed. That's one of the rules of motion capture, that motive will crash. So we should save often. Save early, save often. All right. I'd like for everyone to give Victoria an amazing round of applause, or at least an applause emoji or whatever you kids do these days, instead of talking to each other out loud. And then I'd like to thank Kevin and Stella for coming down here. The Navy Yard is dark at night and it's loud and it's not very well lit, so they're braving the elements to be down here hanging out. Also, I offered them beer, so whatever. We'll have a new 3 people come down and hang out next week. We'll go through a little bit of this process again. If we come a little early, we'll get some of this stuff and we'll move on. I want to do virtual camera work, prop work, start integrating this with the scenes. You see there's so much more opportunity here. I want to spend this time rehearsing with performers instead of just talking about setting up assets. I want to play with the assets and make content with it. Cool? Any questions? I know we're just a little bit over, but if you guys have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, since we have people here doing the thing in the space. Cool. All right, well, I will stop the screen share and I will stop the OBS recording.